This
Time.
conference will now be recorded.
Town meeting of June 3rd, 2024, and we're commencing at 6:01. So can we do the roll call?
Commissioner Ayla,
Here.
Commissioner Hutchins,
Here.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fuz.
Here.
And Mayor Pugh is with notice.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So any additions, deletions, modifications to the current agenda in front of us?
I would just like to add, under commissioner comments at the end, if we could talk about travel and per diem policies.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's part of the agenda, if we were planning on talking about this, but I'd like to talk about the capital budgeting.
I think it's an item, number 10.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that.
So you want to talk during that, we'll make sure that we.
Yeah, I want to make sure we talk about that. And then also, Lynn, is there an opportunity during this discussion to talk about what, if we think we're going to beat budget in certain categories this year, what do we do about that? Like on the investment earnings, I think we're going to beat it by a substantial amount. So can we redeploy that money or how does that work? Is there a point where we can talk about that?
Without amending the budget, and we can talk about amending the budget in July or August, but otherwise it just is additional revenue. We're planning on additional revenue.
I'm sorry, it's a what?
It would just be considered additional revenue.
Yeah, but he's asking, is it that
Right.
additional revenue locked someplace or can it be used anywhere?
No, it would just go to fund balance unless we do a budget
So
amendment.
it just
to
creates a
use it somewhere.
surplus, an
Yeah.
additional surplus. So
Or
we could decide to spend it.
Or we could reduce the millage rate
Not for this current year, for next year.
next year.
Yeah, he's talking that our
Oh, right,
interest revenue is supposed to exceed for this year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll reduce, next year we'll plan for a higher amount, but this year we're going to exceed it. So I was wondering if we might decide we want to deploy that in some way, or at least have a discussion about it, but, okay, thanks.
Well, wait, that's actually an interesting question. Let's say we have an extra 30,000 that comes in this year,
It's going to be
It's
more
going to
than
be
that.
200,000.
200,000. But
I
You're
don't
saying we have to-
anticipate it being 200,000. I would say maybe 100,000 because while we are collecting what we are right now, for the rest of the fiscal year, we will be drawing down and our interest revenue each month will go down significantly.
But I think,
But we're already at 123,000 at the end of April.
And we budgeted for 200,000.
Well, it'll be bigger than a bread box. There's going to be a substantial overage. I don't know how much it'll be.
but the question I'm hearing is during this fiscal, not the one
During
we're
this
going to
fiscal
discuss.
year, the commission
Where does that money go? Does that have to go to reserves or can we use it for anything?
you could use it for anything, but we would have to do a budget amendment to
So that's.
anticipate
Is that a
that.
big deal to do a budget amendment? I'm
No,
new to
you
this.
just have to tell me what you want to spend the extra.
So we could have a strategic discussion about how we want to deploy that if we wanted to. Okay, thanks.
And I would like to have a discussion on making sure that everybody in town maintains their property according to the ordinances that we have.
Property. Okay, given those two amendments, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, Kelly, do we have any presentations, proclamations? Okay, the announcements, I'll leave those to you.
The meeting scheduled for the next month is as follows. There will be a budget workshop on Monday, July 1st at 2 p.m. Then the regular town commission meeting will be on Monday, July 1st at 6 p.m. The planning and zoning meeting will be on Tuesday, June 18th at 9 a.m. And as of right now, we have a tentative board adjustment meeting on Wednesday, June 26th at 9 a.m. All meetings will be held in the commission chambers at Town Hall. Town Hall will be closed Wednesday, June 19th, 2024, in observance of the Juneteenth holiday. And any residents who wish to sign up to receive important town notifications and news through Slippery should sign up on the town's website or call the town hall for assistance. And I think Chief would like to make an announcement.
Sure. I wanted, Michael, can you come up? I just want to introduce Michael, our new officer. He's 4 weeks on the job.
Yep.
Michael I'll say it, Sigalakis. They call him Sig. He's from Boca, married, 2 kids, and he came from the town of Lake Clark Shores, where he was a part-time officer, and he was in the private industry before becoming a police officer. So we welcome him aboard.
Okay, any public comment? Terry, you sure?
Terry Brown, Harvard Drive South. I was going to bring up community standards, but since David's going to want to talk about it, I'll be able to talk at that time. Are you going to have a discussion with it? He asked it to be added to the.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, during comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So you are allowed public comment during discussion, yes.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to ask about, I know this is an old sob story, but what are we doing about the lights along Ocean Avenue, on the north side? They're almost all of them out? All of them out? Or
Town manager?
We are waiting on the lighting study from the lighting engineer so that we can supply that to FPNL so they can provide us with the transition costs.
So we're still not anywhere near getting those fixed.
We will
Maybe
be-
this year we're gonna fix, you
we
talk
will-
about extra money in the budget.
We will
You
be
can spend them on the lights.
We will be replacing the lights, and by transitioning them to FPNL, they will be taking over the ownership and the maintenance of them. We will just be paying a lease fee and an electric rate, but they are not willing to take them over until we've had the lighting study to ensure that they're.
So you don't have to pay them up front.
No.
That's good. Thank you.
I have a few problems. I think some of our citizens are not very thoughtful. They throw their rubbish on top of bushes that we will have to pay to replant. That is, the taxpayers' expense, not their expense. I think we need to have a fine for people that put their rubbish on top of the bushes and dig big holes in the planting. That's one fine. Number two, I think that, oh, by the way, I've got what it cost us to put those things in there originally in 2022. I think we also, I don't like fines, but sometimes fines make people think. Sidewalks they're all concrete. I thought they were cement, but I told they're concrete, are about 4 inches thick. A road is about 10 inches thick. A driveway is about 6 inches of concrete. If people park on the sidewalk, we ought to fine them or make them pay the cost of replacing the cement they cracked. We just had all the sidewalks fixed and just walk along and see how many of them are cracked. And I guess maybe I'm the promoter of fines for people.
So I think the chief's on this.
What?
As far as
Where
the crack along Harbor, from what we could tell, it was FPNL trucks servicing each pole with the cracks on.
I'm talking about all along A1A and even Ocean Avenue, cracked in some places. If you walk, you'll find a lot of cracked sidewalks. Sidewalks were never meant to support trucks. Oh, the other thing, I think we need to, if people are going to park on the street, because we don't have any parking on the street, they should have to come in and get a parking assignment for a period that they're going to park. I don't know why. The other citizens should be inconvenienced because someone doesn't want people to cut their lawns parking in their driveway. So if they're going to park on the street and inconvenience the rest of the town, they should have to get a parking ticket. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Go.
Charles Kittler, 35 Percy Drive. I'd like to make a comment on the street lights we put on Old Ocean. They're very nice, but they're only shaded on 3 sides. They protect the turtles real well, but then the light that's right by our house on Old Ocean.
Yeah. I saw it.
casts
Can we-
light into our backyard, and it's pretty darn bright.
Can we add that to the town manager's report so we discuss it during your report? Because it's actually all along Old Ocean.
Yeah.
I don't
They're
know
all-
why they changed their protocol.
There are gonna be more people up here
Yeah.
that aren't around right now that'll say, hey.
Yeah.
They're great lights, but the previous light was shaded all the way around and it casts down. Now it throws much, much more onto our house than we need. I don't need
Yeah,
outside lighting in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thanks, Jerry. Any other comment? Okay, approval of consent agenda. Do I need to read the 3 items, Kelly, or can we just move right to approval?
Um,
I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, on to regular agenda items. I guess this would be Lynn, the designation of voting delegate and alternate to the Palm Beach County League of Cities.
Actually, this is not just for the Palm Beach County, but also for the Florida League of Cities. Florida League of Cities conference is coming up and they will hold their annual meeting. At the conference, the town needs to have a designated voting delegate and then alternates. Last year, Commissioner Cassidy was the town's voting delegate. As the other person that was attending the conference, I was the alternate. I don't know if there are any other members of the commission that are planning on attending the conference in August down in Hollywood. But it would be my recommendation that Commissioner Cassidy be the delegate again this year. And then if there's any other commissioners that are attending, they would be the first alternates, with me being the final alternate in case something happened and the others were unable to attend.
At Hollywood, California.
Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah.
No, it's the state league, not the national.
I have no problem with Carolyn repeating.
Yeah,
I'm in favor
doing
of
a
it.
great job.
Great, thanks.
Okay, any public comment? Nope. So can I hear a motion to appoint Carolyn Cassidy to another year as the voting delegate from the town of Ocean Ridge to the Palm Beach County League of Cities?
And it would need to add me as the alternate.
And you
in
as
case
the
there's
al-
someone
and
who
Lynn-
was unable.
Ladner as the alternate.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Okay, appointment of planning and zoning board members. So just one thing on the planning and zoning. I don't know how many people have attended joint workshops with planning and zoning and the commission, or planning and zoning meetings and commission meetings, but it's really helpful if the people applying for planning and zoning actually get along with the commission. That's a very helpful thing. And the other thing is, if you're applying to the particularly planning and zoning commission, it would be nice if you did not have squabbles with your neighbors over your property. So having said that, we have 4 candidates. I guess we should read them. Nick Arsali, Victor Martel, Fadi Karala, and Neil Siggety. We have I guess what we're going to be doing is a full-time position, and depending on that, then we do an alternate position. Is that correct, Lynn?
If you named the current alternate as a full-time, then you would need to name an alternate.
Okay. Any commissioners have any comments?
So are we gonna vote for 2 and then whoever gets the most votes?
I
gets
think we'll
to
vote
full?
one
We're
to
voting
fill the
for one.
position,
One
And then-
position.
and then if that costs us an alternate, then we'll vote for an alternate. Correct?
Correct.
Any other commission comments? Public comment? Okay. You got a ballot, or how are we doing this? Thank you.
Okay, at a 3-to-1, Friday to move up to regular position.
Oh.
Alternate.
Is Fadi here by any chance? I know he was in the UK. Well, congratulations to him. Okay, now we would do a vote for, I believe Fadi's the alternate, so now we're going to do a vote to replace Fadi with an alternate. Any commissioners have any comments before we start this? Okay. Just a point of order, Christie, before Chief reveals that vote. Should I have had a motion to appoint Fadi before we move to this step?
I think we can do it in 2 steps this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a 3-to-1 for Neil Siggety.
Neil Siggety here?
No, he's in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Congratulations to Neil Siggety. Okay,
Now we need the motion.
now I need the motion. So when whoever suggests or makes this motion, please include both people in the motion, or do we need 2 separate motions? Both people?
We do it in one motion.
Do I hear a motion? It's,
So moved.
well, here, why don't you just read what's here? I move to appoint.
Move to appoint Fadi as the full-time commissioner, planning and zoning, and Neil Siggety as the alternate.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think that was unanimous. Okay, moving on. Approve Axon Enterprise contract. Who's this, Lynn?
No, this is Scott.
Scott.
I don't know if you had a chance to read the letter. I can brief you on the letter. This is an approval of a contract that, this is equipment that the officers already have. We have 6 tasers, 7 tasers now that they share. This contract will allow every officer to have their own assigned equipment, have their own taser. We'll provide the equipment to go along with that with the cartridges. We will not have to buy a cartridge for training, for use. We will get the suit, the holster, the charging docks, but it's not just the taser, it's the camera system too, our Axon body cameras. They'll upgrade us to the next body camera immediately, and in 2 years, we'll get another update with another new body camera in that 5-year period.
But that update is included.
It's included. We spend about $20,000 per year now between these systems. It's also the evidence system that stores, a cloud-based system that stores all of our video, whether that be video from the body cam, video that we get from the homeowners, security cameras, any video anybody wants to share with us, it all goes onto this platform, which we then can share with the state attorney's office or other agencies.
Chief, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Did the cameras automatically go on, or does the officer have to engage the camera?
The cameras go on with activation of the police lights in the car.
Okay.
It'll trigger them on. If it's just a consensual encounter, the officer has to activate the camera. There is new technology now with the withdrawal of your gun or your taser that it can activate it.
Is that included in this package?
That is not included in this package. We can find out about that. The officers that wanted this equipment, so bad that they've offered to give $25,000 out of the support group to kick this off for the first year. The only reason I'm asking for your approval now is because this program is going to be discontinued and the rates are going to go up. And our contract expires all these 3 items a la carte in January. So for next, it wouldn't be anything you have to vote for money wise now, that you would not be billed until October, after October.
The new budget.
24, right? And for the first year, it just costs you $10,000. And then the year 2, 3, 4, 5 would be $35,000 for 5-year contract. And that's full legal protection for the town and for the officer for that 5 years.
What about this phrase, Chief? The town's average savings per year is 10,000. Is
Right,
that,
that's on the, Kelly, do you have the, proposal?
What you getting us now that we don't have? Just,
Well, our current tasers are, we only have 7, it's gonna double our production. What happens is they leave them in the glove box in the car.
Mhm.
It's a piece of equipment, it's like your gun. And if the officer doesn't get it out immediately, he's not gonna have it. I'll see an officer in the morning walking down the highway, I said, where's your taser? They said, oh, I forgot to take it out of the glove box. We've had officers take them home because they do keep them on their belt, and then that officer, the next officer coming on our shift does not have one. I've never heard of sharing tasers in a department.
Do
Axon
you
is
share
pretty
guns
much-
or?
No, we don't. But we have 2 in-house instructors too that we've sent to be taser instructors. So we've been using this product since, I think we had it since 2018.
so I have a question. How many people has the police tasered in 2024? Any clue?
2024, I don't believe anyone. 23, we had 2.
2. So it's memorable when it happens in Ocean Ridge.
Well, yeah, you don't want it to happen.
No, I know.
It's nice. If you end up having to shoot somebody and you actually have a signed taser and you say, oh, the officer, I didn't have it because he took it home or it wasn't in the car, that's not a good excuse.
No.
You could have used your taser. It's a tool that every officer in the country and, you know, is a necessary tool, but it saves injury to the officer and to the suspect. But
Sure.
that's just part of the program. I mean, it's the update with the cameras, 2 updates with cameras in our storage. You know, our evidence custodian has to redact certain stuff before she can release it in the body camera videos. And there's equipment built in within that.
Can I make one comment about using the tasers? Sergeant Jobin, I don't know how many times we've used it since we've gotten them, but a lot of times just displaying a taser gains compliance, so then we don't deploy the taser.
Yeah.
So just having them is important.
And you don't have a taser right now, right?
No, because I'm not checking out the file.
No, I'm not against the tasers. I was just genuinely curious.
Right. I just wanted to say that number might seem low, but we've displayed them more often than
I
that,
think
and it's a good tool when you don't get
And
compliance.
for them to actually put it to a vote, this board would come up with $25,000 to kick this program off and to lock in, I think is a pretty good.
Yeah.
So I've got one question. It looks like it's costing us $20,000
On average, 20, yeah,
right now,
yes,
and we're going up to 35,000.
right, but we'd have to spend more than the average 20, because our tasers are out of life production, the current ones we have, we only have 7. We're gonna get 6.
So that is the big expense item in this, apparently.
What, the tasers?
Right. I'm just trying to figure out what adds up to the difference.
We're getting 2 updates within that 5 years for brand new body cameras. Technology with cameras, as you know, changes constantly. And it's our evidence storage program, which is a 3-tier program.
Yeah, I just read through it, but I just wasn't able to quite figure out what bang for the buck we're getting for the additional money.
I think it protects the officers, the town, and also the citizens if they've
Well,
got
I'm no complaint. I just wanted
top
an
quality, yeah.
explanation.
And the other thing, so this would be something that we would vote on now, and then Lynn, you'd make sure it's in the next fiscal budget.
Yeah, it's actually in the capital plan that you're looking at this evening.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, good. All right, any other
Could we,
discussion
I
points?
would like you to follow up on if there is technology that makes it so it automatically
There
turns
is.
on the cameras.
There is. Yeah,
I think that would be a good thing, because we've just seen in the news, where the cop didn't turn on his body camera for Scotty Scheffler, and in that state, they could still prosecute without it, but apparently in Florida, they won't prosecute without the body camera.
So we
Make sure it
look
goes
at
on.
citizen complaints, we look at all the time, and we have to review the body camera, and it's very helpful, very helpful.
Public comment?
Actually, Terry Brown, Albert ISL. My comments have to do with the support group. I know that it's a not-for-profit separate from town government. But when we first moved here over 30 years ago, there was a lot of talk about the support group, and we contributed frequently Gene Rosenberg would come by and twist your arm. No, I'm just kidding. And Dr. Orville.
Crazy.
Dr. Arville would talk to you, but so I haven't heard much about it publicly. Is there an event that people can know about it, they can contribute to it? I know you get police vehicles also on donation.
We have, we just got a donation this year for that electric car, the
Right.
Mustang. I
But
don't
do
know
people
what
know
month-
about it?
What, Kelly, what month do we send out the mail, the letters?
We send them out in January.
January,
January, we send out notices to every resident.
to every resident. And then,
You mean asking for donations?
yes.
For the support group.
Put us on the list, because we used to get the list. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay,
There was one question here when I was looking at the Axon page 31 to 61 in my book. It said quote expiration is 6/1/24.
Which one? I don't have.
The quote expiration, Scott.
Yeah,
Oh, no, this quote is still good. She just emailed me today. They know we're presenting this today.
okay.
And it's not, we're not gonna get billed till October of 24.
Just wanted to make sure that it was still an active.
valid.
Yeah, better do it quick.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the Axon Enterprise contract as described by the chief?
I move that we accept the Axon Enterprise quote as presented by our chief.
Second.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay, I assume this is Lynn, accept, item number 10, accept recommendation and award contract for banking services.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The town received 4 proposals for our banking services in response to the recent RFP. The proposals were reviewed and scored based on criteria that were outlined in the proposal, and the highest scoring responsive proposal was TD Bank NA. The scoring and award recommendations were posted in May, giving all of the proposers an opportunity to protest if they would like. There were no protests. And staff recommends that the town award the contract for banking services to TD Bank NA and authorize the town manager and town attorney to complete all necessary paperwork to complete the transition. If we do this, you will be being reached out to for signature cards for a new account. And we'd like to get this done before the end of the fiscal year so that as we're closing out the fiscal year, we're not also trying to close out bank accounts.
And I assume that we have a representative at the TD Bank in Sunshine Square.
Not necessarily sure it's at Sunshine Square. We do have multiple contacts with TD Bank. Pamela, and if I try to pronounce it, I will butcher it, so I just call her Pam R, is our direct contact. And then we have 3 other additional contacts with the bank as well as representatives at the local branch.
Okay. Any other commissioner comment? Public comment? Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation and award the contract for banking services to TD Bank NA and authorize the town manager and the town attorney to complete the necessary paperwork to complete the transition of banking services.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
So can we ignore the customer satisfaction surveys now from City National?
Yes.
Okay, that was unanimous. Okay, moving on to number 11. Preliminary capital improvement plan and annual maintenance spending. So, Lynn, can you please lead this discussion by saying how we're going about this slightly differently this year? We're trying to make it so that town maintenance and what it costs us to run the town, let's call that, whatever you want to call that, cost A, is this and how much that would cost in taxes. And then we're facing this water infrastructure urgency where we are spending annually, what do you think, 150, 200,000?
most likely on water repairs.
on repairs. So we have to start repairing particularly the older water pipes. So that is going to be broken out as a separate large item, large monetary item, and how much that's going to cost as a mill rate. Because the town, it's time, we can't ignore the water infrastructure any longer.
All right, so the first spreadsheet you have is annual maintenance projects. These are projects that have generally been just under the regular FY capital improvement plan. They include valve can locations, that's exercising all of the valves after we get through, hopefully, our appropriation project. Fire hydrant repair, replacements, and maintenance. This is our annual flow testing, as well as verifying that there's not any issues with any of the hydrants and any hydrant replacement. On average, we end up replacing one hydrant a year. And a individual hydrant itself without any of the installation is roughly $15,000 currently, just to purchase the hydrant. Then you have, it's broken down into stormwater drainage and infrastructure, the ongoing detention maintenance at the Woolbright detention pond, storm drain maintenance and outfall repairs. That can be anywhere in the community if there's any issues with particular outfalls or stormwater pipes. Wet well maintenance, this is an ongoing project. We try to rotate every 3 years. 1 year we do tropical, the next Woolbright, then coconut, and then we start all over. Same with pump refurbishments, pump station upgrades to smart controllers. As our controllers are exposed to the salt air, just like anything at your home, the smart controllers start to malfunction, and so we need to constantly be updating those and upgrading those. The bridge infrastructure repair and replace every 3 years. That is an item. We've done that this year for FY24, and we are not anticipating that there will be any on the FDOT report for next year. So you'll see that as a 0 item. Seawall infrastructure repair and replacement. There's ongoing maintenance to the seawalls where we've got areas that have sinkholes, things like that. The seawall itself doesn't need to be repaired, but due to other issues around the seawalls, we end up having to do minor maintenance every year. Street sign replacement. This is an ongoing, the decorative wooden street signs that we have. Public Works Department tries to replace so many every year. We budget $7,000 for that. This year, the police department is requesting $15,000 for new office flooring and interior office painting. We are due for beach crossover repair. This is anything from putting in no dogs on the beach signs to replacing sand if there's a storm and part of the beach crossover washes out, to considering putting down ADA accessible mats like what exist at Beachway Crosswalk, so that not only are people able to make the crossover better, but it also retains the sand on the crosswalk better because it has something to hold the sand in place. Then for Town Hall, we budget annually to replace 2 of the AC units in Town Hall. There are 12 units total in Town Hall. It costs $8,500 each to replace them now with the salt air replacement. We just had 2 units in Town Hall that were down this morning when we came back from the weekend and had to do repairs on those.
How many units do
I
we
think
have?
there's 12.
12 for town hall?
Yeah,
And
because
what's
you've got
their
the ones where
lifespan?
there's about 5 to 7 years. Because of the salt air. Normally, they're up and highly exposed because they're on top
No,
of the roof.
we all know.
Yeah, well, we all know. Door replacements for Town Hall to make them ADA accessible. That's been on our capital plan for several years to update that.
Didn't we just do this on the front door?
But there are other doors. You've got the police department door during regular business hours. It's not on an ADA.
That's the dispatch door?
Yeah, the dispatch door. It's not on an ADA lock. It should be. We put in the new locks to where we can lock it and the intercom. But when it's readily accessible and open to the public, there's not an ADA button for someone to push to come in during the dispatch open hours.
Yeah, but interior doors.
No, the exterior door.
That has a push button handicap.
No, at the dispatch
At the
center?
dispatch door?
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
And when I just went over
It's about that big, isn't it?
And that's the way it is on town hall, but I haven't ever seen the one at
I'm
dispatch.
almost sure they're,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it
Okay.
when I went over to get my binder.
Yeah. I'm
So-
pretty
So we could
Yeah,
save
that would be-
$6,600. Look at
Just
that.
say $6,600. Maintenance of town hall, this is just our regular, painting, flooring updates, et cetera. The commission allocated $25,000 last year. I would like us to continue allocating money for those updates.
But that'll be a discussion point during the actual budget meeting, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
of what exactly it would be.
And it's 35, you put
I-
35 here.
Right. We budgeted 25 for FY '24. I'm requesting 35 for FY '25. And then conference room updates. I'm getting a quote on updating the Powerway that's in the conference room table.
What is a power
The
way?
Powerway is the.
The strip?
The strip in the center.
With-
And it just lifts out. So I'm getting a quote from the table manufacturer to see if it can be replaced with one that has not just regular outlets, but also USB outlets, and see what that cost is. As well as we need new chairs for any of you that have been in the conference room in the last several months. If you sit down at certain chairs, part of the backs fall off.
That's true.
Others, the backs, we just simply don't even put them on anymore because the minute somebody sits in it, it falls off. So we figured 10 chairs, and so approximately 4,000, depending upon where we can get the chairs from. We're looking anywhere from $200 to $500 for office chairs to replace the chairs that are in there each.
You can get office chairs that cheap.
For ones that you're not gonna sit into for very long, yes.
Okay, so
So-
that's the
So
final,
that's-
so it's totals 290 here. Do you happen to have last year's, or was it not broken out like?
Last year's was not broken out like that. Last year's it was
Can we go through
included
these?
in.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On this? So we talked about how we're gonna separate out, maybe separately disclose to the residents the amounts for water and all that. About half of this 290 is stormwater and drainage infrastructure.
That's different.
I know it's different, I'm saying, but it's different, but it's kind of not different. I wonder if we should consider also including that as part of the cost of maintaining our drainage infrastructure, et cetera, whether it's worth a discussion about that being separately included in the
Well-
other piece as well.
If you'll notice, looking at the capital improvement plan, I've broken those down by segments as well. Water infrastructure, stormwater, roads and streets, public works, police, town hall, same as the annual maintenance. What is on this annual maintenance are things that we do every year. 290,000 that we have always put in the CIP as capital projects, but they're not really major capital projects.
If it's an
So-
annual expense, I don't think of it as a capital project.
Right, that's why it's
That's-
broken out,
That's an
and
expense.
Right.
But
that's why it's
they're
broken
on
out under annual maintenance.
I think it's confusing because it's redundant in that the annual maintenance items are also included in the capital improvement plan and there are no numbers associated with them.
But-
So I think
It's like running a house. I'm not a budget guy, but I don't have a problem with this. If you need to vacuum your house once a week, or whenever you vacuum it, that's maintenance. And
It's
if you
not
need to
capital.
go get a new.
Capital is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
understand that. Capital would be you have to replace your central vac.
Right,
So-
and the reason they're on both is because there may come a time when we have to do a larger capital project that is the same, would have been the same.
okay.
Which is why there's nothing budgeted for them on the capital improvements, but they're still there so that we know that, 2 years from now, we may need to do a $25,000 stormwater maintenance on one of the outfalls that's above and beyond what we anticipated for our regular. And so we would budget for both capital and for the regular maintenance because there was a major issue with one of our outfalls.
Does that answer the question?
I think so. So
I think you-
I think you're saying kind of our run rate has been around the same 290, probably, if we dug through it.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is separate out now real expense, annual cost of doing business, and then capital, which is improving or making investments in our infrastructure.
In our
Correct.
aging infrastructure.
In our aging infrastructure, or adding in areas like with stormwater drainage, we have several areas where we need new outfalls that we are working on getting the easements for and that type of thing. Those are on the capital plan.
But when you talk about outfall repairs, it's $50,000. Is that barnacle busters? Like, what is that?
That is barnacle busters, that's new valves at the end of the outfall. If
Flaps.
it starts malfunctioning and starts allowing the seawater back in, it's different things like that, as opposed to having to replace the entire drainage pipe and outfall inlet.
Any other commission questions?
Yeah.
Does the public have any maintenance issues that they're aware of that the town does not take care of? No. That's
Which,
good
when you
news.
say bridge infrastructure repair, which bridge is that specifically?
Those are
The little bridge.
Sable
The little
Island,
bridges? Okay.
Island,
That's what I
all of
thought.
our little bridges.
So my pet peeve,
Yes, sir.
the doggy water bowl at dispatch, how we doing?
It's my understanding Starbright was going to order one and we will install it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's in the works.
Yes.
Question about the signs, the no dogs. Every one of the signs at the access point says no glass, no littering, no dogs. So why do we need additional no dog signs? I'm just-
I put that out as an option, as sort of a, this is what could be done.
Okay, and then my question is, are we still getting our street signs through Jeff Industries?
Yes.
Lynn, sorry.
No, I just thought it seemed high with 2 units per year with the AC, but if there are 12, I guess that's not.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
the life cycle is.
And I guess I have a question as to why we're increasing maintenance at town hall from 25 to 35.
Well, that'll,
Have we spent the 25 this year yet?
We haven't. I was hoping that by waiting until the end of the fiscal year and having more allocated for the new year, we could do one major project that crossed over both fiscal years.
Lynn, would this include the ability to do video in the event that we had commissioners?
That is on
That's a
the
separate
capital,
item,
that's
yeah.
separate on the capital plan.
but we're gonna just have a healthy discussion about what you're bringing up, the 25,000 this year, 35 next year, during the budget process.
Mhm.
Right.
Because I know last year there was talk about painting the room, and it looks pretty good to me.
Right, when we get down to it, what you're approving tonight permits me to do is input these into the software as well as our general expenditures and get a better idea of where we are on total capital maintenance and our regular fixed costs for the year. So that when we come to the July meeting, I can say, okay, based on what was presented in the June meeting, X amount of our ad valorem tax is going to annual maintenance and to capital improvement projects, which leaves 3.4 or 4 whatever mils left of the ad valorem to go towards the general operating. In order for that to happen, we can do this, or we can take things out of the capital improvement, out of the maintenance, or we can adjust the mill levy higher or lower.
But it facilitates seeing the impact of finally dealing with the aging
Infrastructure.
water infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all set on annual maintenance projects? Okay, next we have capital improvement plan.
Capital improvements, you've got 2. It's been updated for years 1 through 5 and years 6 through 10. We'll concentrate on year 1, which is FY25. We have $500,000 for the valve can project. 50% of that we anticipate coming from the legislative appropriation, but as the governor has not signed the budget yet, and it is in the state's FY25 budget, We most likely will not get that money until FY '25. Water infrastructure improvements, this is separate from the ARPA project. As we've discussed several times, our potable water infrastructure needs significant improvements. We have deferred maintenance on it since the early 2000s. I think the last project, actually, I think it was since the 1994 was the last water project in Ocean Ridge.
Can I stop
Lynn,
you
I
there?
don't want to interrupt you, but before you go through each one of these items, I mean, I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel, but on these, I really like the annual maintenance stuff. That's all. I understand it. It makes good sense. It's the cost of running the town. These capital things, these are choices. You know, a lot of them are choices that we need to make. And it feels to me like I would like to have more information, not just about the things on this list, but what's the next list that were things that we decided, well, we couldn't afford those, so that we can have a discussion and debate about, are we prioritizing it right? Are we spending enough on some of these items, et cetera? I don't know if that requires a workshop or if that's what we're going to do on July 1.
It's the budget, during the budget.
Okay, so I don't know what we're doing here then.
Well, we're going through to see if, like, she's gonna input, for instance, potable water infrastructure. By the way, I would never put the word repair on the capital improvements. I would dump that word and just say replacement, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
So we have $750,000. So, for instance, everyone should be aware, and we should remember this number. The current project is costing $766 per foot.
But
So-
but I'm asking a more basic question, which is, we're going through all these line items.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to approve any of them right now because
No,
I don't know what the other
but
choices are.
right now, she's gonna use the numbers. If you have like, for instance, look at the 750, and if you say, well, that number is way off, because she's gonna input this into the budget, and then we're gonna discuss exactly what you wanna discuss.
There,
it's just not clear to me
there are
what
not
purposes.
items that have been left off. Everything that is currently anticipated as a capital improvement for the town is listed either on the 1 to 5 or the 6 to 10.
So the discussion about when and how much is
That
the
is,
real discussion.
that is the real, and that would be this evening. If there's something on on years 2 through 5 or 6 through 10 that you think is a higher priority than what's on on year 1, that's what I need to know now. Keeping in mind, several of the projects that are in FY '25 are projects that we've been saying we were going to fund either in FY '25 or are rollover projects from previous years.
So maybe all the other commissioners feel like they have are armed with all the information they need in order to be able to say what you want us to say right here. I'm new to this, and I can tell you, I don't have all the information that I would need to be able to say, yeah, 250 looks right for the South Harbor Drive outfall.
Well,
And then
the numbers for most of these projects came from engineering estimates. So I'm not pulling them out of thin air.
No, I'm not being clear. That's great, but there might be another item that I would say, yeah, but I'd rather do this other thing, and we need to have a debate about that.
Yes, but
Than instead of doing the 250 that's there. And I feel like you're saying, you gotta let me know now if I
Well-
want 250 on the you know what I mean?
This is the third year that we've tried to spend $250 on the North Harbor Drive cul-de-sac outfall.
Yeah, but I haven't tried to spend it in any other year.
Well,
This
the
is
only
my first
reason
year.
we haven't spent it is because we don't have the easement. It's not that it hasn't been previously budgeted.
I feel like I'm either not making myself clear or.
I think,
nobody's
see that
listening to
first
me.
column, second column, actually, priority. So the fact that, let's say right now, Lynn decides to input $750,000 for potable water replacement, right? She has that down as a medium priority. At the budget meeting, we'll decide that's high priority. And maybe we'll say,
Move some stuff
750.
around, right? We might move some stuff around or pull some stuff
Right,
forward. from
Lynn's trying to
here
put
here.
together an outline, that's what I would call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For instance, on the 750, that does roughly 1,000 feet of pipe, right? So maybe, at the budget meeting, if we do 1,000 feet, are they gonna charge us the same per foot as when they come in and do 3,000 feet? I doubt it. So maybe we need to bump that number, you see what I'm
Or
saying?
if we have a surplus on the investment earnings, maybe we say, shoot, let's buy
Move it
another
over, yeah.
Yeah.
50 feet or something,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a meaty discussion we can have, but I'm not prepared to have that meaty discussion right now.
I think that's exactly what happens in the budget meeting.
Okay, then
Because,
I'm still not clear on what.
We had this discussion back in March when we put the calendar together. The commission did not want to do multiple work sessions, which meant that we proposed a capital improvement plan, and you, at this evening's meeting, that's why it's on the agenda, is you either approve or you remove these priorities. And when it comes time to put everything into the budget, and I propose the preliminary budget in July, if we have to cut some of these items or move things around from year to year in order to not raise taxes or to meet the mill levy that the commission wants, that's when we do it. But right now, it's very difficult for me to put together a final budget or a preliminary budget for you guys to look at with all of the expenditures that we need in the general operating.
Yeah.
When I don't know how much of our general operating tax levy is going to go to capital projects.
Yeah, Lynn, I understand that there's a lot of moving parts. I understand that budgeting is a complicated process. I'm less interested in trying to make it easy to get it done, and I'm more interested in getting the right budget in there. And I'm just saying, I want to make sure that there's time, and I don't know if you just said that, because it sounded like you said something different. I want to make sure there's time for the commissioners to debate and discuss whether we like the priorities that we have here and whether we like the timing that we have here. And I'm just telling you, I haven't been given the background on all of these items to be able to have a strong opinion about it one way or the other. So if we're going to have that workshop, if when we have that workshop, that's when we're going to have that conversation, that's great. I didn't hear you just say that. I thought you said, no, this is pretty lost.
It sounds like what you're asking for is a workshop just on the capital plan.
No, it's the budget process.
No, because
We'll arrive at your goal. And during the budget process, because you're an expert at this, you'll be able to say, wait a minute, guys, you know.
But capital is, look, the expenses, that's kind of easy to get our hands around. We know what we have to do every year.
Mhm.
Capital, it's about making choices. It's strategic choices we're going to make. We're going to
Correct.
decide when we're going to do stuff, how quickly do we replace these pipes, when do we do these things? And I just don't, I'm not sure. I want to make sure we have time for that conversation.
Yes, that's
If
the
you're saying
entire,
it's July 1, great.
the budget process meetings are lengthy. So for instance, look at paving roads, okay? Notice how that says low priority, but Lynn's gonna go ahead and budget 500,000. Well, I guarantee you $500,000 is not gonna go to something that's low priority when we actually have the budget discussion. That's your confusion, I think.
Yeah, so we'll have to discuss.
Right.
We might decide that we don't think it should be low at that meeting, I suppose. That would be a possibility, right?
Or we say, no, we're not spending 500,000, it's gone. That's what's confusing you as an accountant.
I'm not an accountant, but yes, I you know,
I think the water situation up at the top again, it should probably be high because our pipes are shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the priority has to start down from that. We've got to take care of those things.
so that's the kind of conversation I'm talking about. We would all say, look, there's like 3 things that we gotta put at the top.
Mhm.
And then the rest of the stuff, we'll get to it when we can get to it. Maybe that's year
So can we,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
we can do that at a budget meeting, right?
That's what I want to make sure. I want to make sure that when we get to that meeting, they don't say, oh, we had the meeting and you guys said, okay. You know, I want to make sure that we're going to have the meaty conversation about all that and that we can move stuff around.
And to Dave's
We can do
point,
that, right?
you know, the water infrastructure is given a medium priority, but we all are kind
It's
of
a
saying
high.
here that it's
I'm
high.
kind of saying, how could that be medium? You know,
And-
just based on what I know.
That's the discussion was asking for this evening. The reason I put the water infrastructure at medium is because I've had several discussions with members of the commission about when I was brought on, I was told that we did not want to keep our water infrastructure, that it was going to be something that we could negotiate as an asset to give away in negotiating potable water contract with Boynton Beach. That is not something I personally am comfortable with. I think that we should retain our infrastructure, but until I know for sure whether the commission wants to retain the infrastructure, and we know that we're retaining the infrastructure, why would we be investing millions of dollars and the potable water infrastructure, only to then turn that asset over to someone else.
But I thought, my understanding was that Boynton Beach was not even interested.
They don't appear to, but, in my discussions with them, but I also need direction from the commission on that. If we want to move potable water to a high priority, we can change that right tonight.
I think what I'm trying to say is, I don't feel like tonight is the night to have that conversation, because I don't feel like I'm well armed to have that discussion. Although I'm anxious to have that discussion. I'd like more information on some of these items. And if that's on July 1, that's great.
Then I would recommend that we do a work session between now and the end of the third week of June, so that whatever those priorities are, we know exactly how much we are anticipating spending of ad valorem taxes to transfer to capital projects. Because that will greatly impact how much we have to spend on salaries, on benefits, on the day-to-day operations of town hall, on the day-to-day operations of the police departments, everything like that.
I kind of don't agree with the way you're characterizing it.
Well,
I look at
because
that as separate from capital.
But
Capital is,
I agree, but unfortunately, our revenue source, our primary revenue source, other than state revenue sharing and fines, is ad valorem taxes.
Right.
So unless the town has a designated capital mill levy, and that's what we're going to spend on capital projects every year, I have to subtract what we're spending on capital projects from our general operating mill levy to get to what's left to spend on the town.
I understand all that. All we're talking about is wanting to have an educated and meaningful discussion about the different items. And you're saying, I want to do it now, and I'm saying, I'm not ready to do it now, because I don't feel like it would be a good decision that would get made at this meeting tonight. If you're saying we got to pick the categories and pick the amounts and the years.
That's
I'm not
why
ready.
I'm saying that it sounds as though you're wanting a specific workshop, a work session, and I'm happy to do that.
So, because we're getting kind of into the weeds, and this isn't the meeting to get into the weeds. You want that meeting's the budget process.
When's the
No,
meeting?
they
Yeah.
gotta-
It lasts 20 or more hours during the month of July at various meetings.
No, it lasts
So-
3 hours.
But does it help you at this meeting if we go through your priority and say what somebody suggested, which is, these are the high items? We know what the high priority items are.
Yes, because if there's something that you want to push out to a different year or something you want to move to this year, I can do that.
Okay. All right, we had one public comment. Yes, Bob?
Robert Sloat, 6550 North Ocean Boulevard. I thought I was coming to a commission meeting this evening, not a budget meeting. And as a resident, I really think you guys ought to have a meeting. I totally agree with you that this should not be at a commission meeting. It should be at a budget meeting. Thank you.
Thanks for the
Bob.
wisdom.
I think part of the disconnect here is that there's, the introduction to this topic, the suggested motion is that we move to accept this capital improvement plan. And I think what Einer's trying to say is, we haven't talked about this enough to have a vote and then be kind of held to that.
You're
that's exactly what
you're not held to it. That's what everyone's
Then what are we
missing here.
voting?
But
Then what do we?
why are we
But,
approving it?
Lynn, you have to start
I'll approve the
somewhere.
annual maintenance period. I'm not going to approve the capital. Because I don't
That's
have enough
fine.
information.
And my recommendation, if we are not approving the 10-year CIP, is that we hold a workshop between now and the end of the third week of June to, as Commissioner Ayler is saying, work through the meaty things.
That's what we do in the budget process.
Then
We
why are we
have 2
approving
work
this tonight?
sessions.
Well,
We
why don't we
only have-
change the wording on this and say, it already says preliminary capital improvement plan and annual maintenance spending, preliminary.
we
Okay,
have-
that's all we're trying to approve. Look through this list. Is there anything particularly egregious, like paving plan low, 500,000? So, maybe that should be changed. Things like that, not the budget process that you're talking about, that Bob Slope brought.
But it is what Commissioner Ava is talking about.
Right. But that,
We either night need to do the meeting work session. The commission had asked to have fewer work sessions this year. So this was my way of,
Why don't we, okay, we've got a meeting planned for July 1. Why don't we just start that, instead of having it be 2 hours, why don't we start it earlier and
well,
just
it's 3
leave enough
hours.
time? Then let's make it 5 hours or 6 hours. I'll come in at 7 in the morning if we need to. But why don't we, we know everybody's gonna be there that day. Why don't we just make it longer? I mean,
I don't have an issue with that. We can start at 12:30, we can start at 1 o'clock. It's currently scheduled for 2 o'clock. It gives us 3
12:30.
hours.
Everybody good, 12:30?
Sure.
Eat lunch beforehand? Yes, Tim?
Sorry. Tim Cassidy, 7 Hudson Avenue. I think it's, the better way to think about this is, you know what contracts are, you know, police, you know, fire calls, you know, staffing, all those numbers you have the contracts. So for reference, if you do those numbers first and come back and say, given all of this, where we see our contracts now, this leaves us approximately, if we're gonna keep the mill rate the same, this number, at least it gives you a guide, so you can start.
and then how
having
much, then we argue about how we're gonna spend it.
Yeah, so if the number's, you know, 7 million.
I
it's
think Lynn
it's 2
is
million.
doing that. It's just the language. There's a semantics
But
problem here.
you're doing like the variable part first. The variable
She's
part
trying
is
to nail
capital
down the
budget.
variable
That's
part,
That's
and
the
I'm
variable
saying,
part.
I'm
The fixed
saying,
part,
we know
fixed
how much
part
it costs
is
to run the town.
exactly.
Whatever's
Right.
left over is what we're gonna argue about.
Correct.
And I'm not ready to have the argument right now, period.
And
I
it's,
don't think we're having an
not an
argument.
argument, right.
This is a
Discussion.
preliminary
It's the big-
capital improvement.
Right.
We're not locked into it. We're
Correct.
making a discussion, what we're gonna talk about at the budget meeting, right?
Lynn's more locked into it than you think. But
Well, I
Well,
don't
Lynn's
know.
saying-
If the commission is okay accepting the annual maintenance projects minus the door replacements, then I will move forward, and at the beginning of the July meeting, we'll present the fixed costs, see how much that leaves us based on our current mill levy, and we'll go from there on the capital project.
And then we have a discussion about what's most important
Correct.
and when are we gonna spend it? That's the conversation I wanna have.
That's
but
the
I'm not
budget.
ready to
I
have
keep
it
on
yet.
saying this. That's the budget process that we've been using since I've been up here. It takes 3 or 4 meetings. They're very long meetings, very tedious. They accomplish exactly what you want to accomplish.
I'm happy with what you're talking about. I don't think that's what Lynn was proposing.
Right now, she's trying to get a preliminary number of what? 2.5 million on a wish list that we then prioritize. How's that? Does that make everybody happy?
Sounds great. I think.
Okay, do we need a motion on this or we got to
Yeah,
stand up
to
without?
approve the annual maintenance projects minus the
So I hear a
doors.
motion to approve the annual maintenance project.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those who agree, say aye. Aye.
Minus
Unanimous.
the doors.
Minus the doors. Okay, Lynn, you basically understand what we're doing here?
I do.
All right, fine. Okay, town managers report.
Oh, as you met our new police officer, we have added several new people over the last couple of months. I'm really hoping everybody's had a chance to meet our 2 new officers. We also have a new dispatcher. So if you get a chance to stop into dispatch and see Ms. Shalloway, that would be great. Otherwise, we've got Officer Nails and Officer Sigalakis. Commissioner Cassidy and I have had several meetings discussing potential grant opportunities that will expand our investments in our water and our stormwater infrastructure. We are trying to set up another one with the grant writer. We are still hopeful that things will come out the way we hope in this year's budget for the water valve project in our appropriation. But we won't know until the governor signs the budget. And then
Do we know when that's gonna happen, Lynn? Or-
he
By
has
end of
until June 30th. There has been discussion that he may call a special session of the legislature, which is why they've held off on giving him the budget thus far. So until they make a decision on whether to do a special session or not and hand it over to him, we won't know.
But by June 30th.
Yeah, June 30th, it has to be in effect, the state's budget starts July 1, so he has to adopt the budget by June 30th. As you all know, it's hurricane season, so make sure that you've had an opportunity to sign up not only for the town Civic Ready, but Palm Beach County also has an alert system that comes out from their emergency management. That's always a good thing to sign up for. And then you had asked to add the lights on Old Ocean.
right.
FPNL has been replacing those as we requested as part of the overall town replacement project. I have already turned over one request to have a fourth shield added on the fourth side from one of our property owners. I will reach out to our representative and request that shields be placed on all of them.
Yes, exactly.
Based
And
on
then-
this evening comments and your comments.
Because we actually lowered remember when we did this, we lowered the wattage, went to amber.
Yep.
And now the homeowners are getting more light because when they changed the protocol of the shields. So we want them to go back to the old protocol with the new lights. That solves the problem.
Did anybody besides me watch that Sea Turtle 3.5 hour video explaining the light colors that you're
I did
supposed
not.
to use?
No,
And the only color that really works is a particular spectrum range of red.
red.
Orange, yellow, it's highly attractive to the turtles. So,
But wasn't it the turtle people that wanted us to use amber?
The amber is in that red spectrum.
Oh,
What
it
they provide according to.
I spent 3.5 hours listening to this.
We got the wrong lights?
I think we have the wrong lights. I mean, they did the best we could, but they've come up with some idea that it's a narrow spectrum.
But if it's shielded,
Shielding only prevent, you get by additional light.
Yeah.
They're attracted by all kinds of stuff. And we could say, well, we don't have to, but the state and the federal governments can compel us to do this stuff. So we really
Is
need to
amber
be.
better than white, or is it the
Yeah,
same as?
Amber is the,
as
amber
white.
and most of the reds are the same as white.
The lighting that FPNL has put up is considered turtle-friendly lighting. They're required to meet those state and federal requirements.
I'm not disputing
Yeah,
what
that's
they
amazing.
said. I'm
That's
just
true.
saying what
It's
was
amazing.
said at this.
Everybody's put in the wrong light.
FPL's been telling us to do this.
I'm just
I
saying,
wouldn't be surprised at
this is
all.
what I watched. I'm going like, I'm writing this stuff down and that's what I got out of it.
So you're gonna be
So-
discussing the shields with this woman,
Yes.
and maybe I don't know what we're gonna do if she says, yes, you're correct. You know, yes, we're
I-
putting in the wrong lights. That's what she's saying.
Seriously doubt if she'll say, yes, we're correct,
Right.
because these were specifically picked out of their turtle-friendly lighting catalog.
That just means some committee somewhere decided that that's the right color, and I think what they're saying is maybe the science doesn't line up with that, but we should.
That's amazing.
we should do
So
that.
the shields is number one.
Yep.
And then the color, number two. Anybody else got any questions for Lynn? Town manager's report? Okay, town attorney?
No report, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I do have a couple. Our town has a particular character to it, and most of us would like it to remain the way it is, which means that homes be maintained to a certain level, and a lot of them are not. I can go down Harbor Drive North where I live, and I can see a number of roofs that are heavily sooted or molded, and it looks terrible. I can see yards that aren't maintained properly, and it's not a good look. There's a recently demolished home lot, and they've got sprinklers going, and to my mind, it should be sodded, but I guess seeding is acceptable, but it doesn't work that well. So I'm thinking that we should do some enforcement where we can. We want to make sure that the people understand first, if you're going to change, great. But on my roof, on my house, I got fined on the old roof, and I had to pay something, had to pay to get cleaned. And then 3 weeks later, I had to tear it all off and I put in a new roof, which is compliant. So we want people to follow the ordinances on the maintenance of their properties. and our town will be better for it.
Is that a compliance issue or is it a planning and zoning? Do we need different rules?
We have ordinances that can
We
be
have the right
enforced.
ordinances, which is
Right.
just an enforcement issue.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be, come down on people hard. We just want them to realize that they should take care of their property.
Is this a chief question?
This is
Well,
an
that's
issue
Bruce.
of the
That's
officer that previously did code enforcement, retired.
Mhm.
And there is not an officer in the police department that is designated as the code enforcement officer.
There was a time here where all officers knew that if the roof was molded over or if the lawns were growing weeds like crazy, that was a compliance issue, and they would just come up and knock on the door or hang something on the door, just say, hey, word to the wise, clean up your act.
So maybe it's a training thing?
I don't know, would you be comfortable having the,
We can do more of that kind of enforcement if you would like us to do that.
I'd like to
Who's
suggest.
For
currently
grass, for roofs.
writing violations? The hybrid?
No, currently as we either find them or are notified by
Who
complaints.
finds, who
Kelly.
identifies?
Kelly
Thank you.
fills out the paperwork for the,
Who tells
community
Kelly
standards.
what paperwork to file
So
on a
somebody
house?
has to come in and
It's a
complain.
public complaint.
Public
or
complaint.
somebody on staff that is out doing
Staff,
their job.
commission, residents, if I don't get a notification, I have no clue.
So isn't this as simple as going back to the old method where, because you guys are on the road all day long, right?
Correct.
Do you want to have one officer who's more responsible for it, or you want to just
If
make
we-
your
Right
approach?
now, we were trying to staff the road just to maintain the police presence and enforce laws and traffic laws. And be on the beach to enforce the dogs, which is an ordinance. If the officer finds a house that's substandard, we can serve them notice when we work with Kelly. We do that already.
Okay,
You
so there
don't-
is a system somewhat in place.
You don't have to throw the book at them, you just
Yeah, you
inform
don't have
them.
to be,
And
yeah, you can.
because we're a
take general
neighborly
approach
town.
to it, yeah.
We're not.
We had a code enforcement officer. We don't have a code enforcement officer anymore. And Ronnie Guy was our code enforcement. We don't have that anymore.
So do you want to appoint somebody as a code enforcement officer on top of their duties, or do you want the police force to be responsible for it? We'll see how it goes.
I would love for the town, if they want code enforcement, to have a code enforcement officer. I don't think it's a good idea to have your police force knocking on the residents' doors to enforce code violations. I would say it'd be a good idea to hire for a part-time job. If that's the number one priority with code enforcement. We don't have, our officers,
Who used to be the code enforcement? Was it Debbie?
no. After Durrani left, they had Matt McAllister.
Matt
Was,
McAllister.
was given that role. He was taken off the road and strictly did that. Until we got shorthanded and he had to go back and then he retired.
So in your expert police opinion, you don't like an officer knocking on somebody's door because it immediately causes tension?
They have to change hats to enforce code enforcement. And it's not a good.
I just hate to create a new position.
Yeah, me too.
I have yet to find a police department that wants to do code enforcement.
It does seem. awkward to have
However,
Police coming up and telling you
you
to
know,
fix your roof.
code enforcement, community standards, as we call it here, traditionally falls under the building department. We only have the building clerk and the contract building clerk in our current building department. We can budget for and staff for a part-time code enforcement person.
Lynn, do we know
unless-
what other town, like what does Gulfstream do or what do some of the other towns do? Do they have like a part-time person that does this or?
I know Palm Beach where I retired, they have 2 part-time code enforcement officers.
Civilians.
And if something happens during the night, the police officer handles it and he passes it along to the code enforcement or he takes care of it.
But there are challenges to having non-certified officers as code enforcement. Code enforcement is considered to be one of the high-risk professions.
Really?
Code enforcement officers have routinely been attacked, and I attended a code enforcement officer's funeral who was shot attempting to just serve a friendly notice to someone about their yard.
Probably not Ocean Ridge where that would.
Honestly, I don't think it matters if you've got someone who is
Okay, so why don't we leave it like this? Lynn, you'll look into how much it would cost for a part-time code enforcement officer, and we'll add this to the July 1 budget discussion.
And what some of the other local communities are doing.
Yeah.
Also.
Maybe get an extra taser.
For the resident.
Very good.
Wow.
So we got that, bad lawns, bad roofs, seed versus sod. Thank you.
By the way, I disagree on the seed versus sod issue.
I know you do. We've talked about it.
Yeah. So I know the lot across the street, there was a complaint, but
Right.
they threw the seed, they threw some straw, they saved themselves, what, $4,000 or $5,000? Because it costs quite a bit to put down sod on an empty lot.
Oh, yeah.
That
But,
you're then going to
but
rip up when
all
you
the
build your
weeds
house.
that
Yeah.
start first end up in other people's lawns. So that's
Don't know
something to
that.
consider.
Okay, police chief,
Public comment on that, and I think
Yeah.
it's on the subject, right?
yes.
There are bigger issues than just the roof, the moldy roof and the weeds growing in the lawn. On your street on Harbor Drive North, at the end of the street, there's a house that's been sitting there.
Which end we talking?
Catty corner on the water. I don't know the number. It's next to the big.
So at the west end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's right on the intercoastal. It's had water go up inside of it when we had a bad storm. No one has lived in it for years since then, and it's full of mold. The roof leaked, and they patched the roof and painted the patch so it looked like the tile was replaced, which has never been replaced. So it's substandard in the sense it's not habitable. It's full of mold, and it's flipped over 2 or 3 times. People thinking they could come in there and put in a big mansion and elevate the ground, which is what they're going to have to do, but no one ever did it. And this is the spot where there's an outfall issue for the flooding on Harbor Drive North. And no one has ever approached the attorney, as far as I know, to sue for an easement under eminent domain. All you need is a 5-foot wide easement along the property edge. The property is vacant. It's been vacant and no one's living there. So it's a perfect opportunity to get the easement to go to the intercoastal, which is, it floods all the time at the end of that street. And you have perfect justification for eminent domain. And all you gotta do is horse trade with the owner. The owner's doing nothing on it. They don't respond. They don't call back. They don't do anything when, I talked to Jeff about this. But no one wants to sue, but it's the only way you're gonna get an easement.
So Lynn, will you look into that with Christie?
Mhm.
I was unaware of this house. I don't live on Harbor Drive North.
And there's, of course, the boarded up house on Old Ocean, the DeLorean house, which has plywood on it, no electricity, no water. The ownership changed over 8 months ago, and no one's done anything about it. That's community standards, walking by there, driving by there, and looking at that every day. That hurts us as residents to have a structure like that on Old Ocean. That's our avenue, that's our promenade. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, that's also, no.
Sergeant Truman, sorry, this is a record for me coming up here twice. I just wanted to say, in my experience, I totally agree with Chief about the code enforcement position. We are generally pretty neighborly, but code enforcement can become some of the most contentious issues we've seen in the town. I've been involved in one personally that was extremely contentious. It took a lot of time out of my policing, what I would, be doing something else normally, following up, creating a magistrate packet that had to be delivered by hand to the person, and then actually coming to a magistrate meeting, and just a lot goes into it, whether it's dogs on the beach, parking on construction sites, which are oftentimes people that are not even town members, they're, people that are doing construction, things like that. We don't get as much as compliance as I think you guys think we do. Just going there and trying to tell them, hey, I think this is something that needs to be fixed. I found many, many times in my experience that we'll tell them or give them a warning and come back sometimes in the same day, and the same violation is still going on, or weeks later the violation hasn't been corrected. And the other thing is that when police are involved, because we're knocking on a door and saying, hey, you put out your debris on your yard and you have a contractor, the contractor is supposed to take it with you. The homeowner might see that as something that's petty, but it is a code enforcement issue. And we have to get their name and date of birth so that we know who we're issuing, even a verbal warning. So we know who we're issuing it to. When you have police showing up with a gun on their hip saying, I want your name and date of birth, and sometimes people don't want to give us their name and date of birth, and we don't know everybody's name and date of birth in town, it just becomes a very contentious issue, and
I think we all agree that we
yeah.
decided
I
we
just
don't
wanted
want
to
the
voice that
police.
because that's something that
Yeah, we don't want
I
the
think
police
since I started here,
involved
I
in
thought
code
it was it puts a bad taste in the town people's mouth when police are doing that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks. Police chief report?
My report's in your packet. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have. As far as to piggyback on the dog at the beach, we have come up with a plan to, because there was no teeth, we have, if we give them a $25 fine, same person comes along, our dispatcher has to search a record, see if we issued it, not knowing if they paid it or not. We're issuing a magistrate hearing piece of documentation and a date when we issue the citation for the dog violation, that they have to either appeal it to the magistrate, or if they don't pay it, they'll have a magistrate hearing to enforce it.
And when
without their presence.
they go to the magistrate hearing, they're gonna get charged more than $25, right? So what are you asking? You're just informing
I'm
us
just
of
telling you
this?
that's what we made that change to the dog.
Okay.
You stepped it up.
Good.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, anybody got any questions for the police?
If they don't go to the magistrate hearing.
The hearing still goes on and they can find them guilty.
I do have one item here that I'd like to, I don't know who I should address it to, but we have an extra trash can at the end of Beachway.
I
on the
was
beach.
gonna
The
go to that at the
Steve
end.
Cause trash can.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I would like to see if we could get extra trash cans on a couple of the other crossovers, because the one on the Porter Street is almost always filled up, and it's the prime spot for people to go out and sailboard and do all that other stuff. And I don't know what's gonna happen to that boat that's on the beach. It's still there. We should do
So,
something about it.
As long as we're on the trash, because I meant to ask you this during
The
town.
two fold in together.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the Memorial Day weekend, I shot pictures on Tuesday after Memorial Day. That trash hadn't been emptied since Wednesday of the previous week, I believe.
It was picked up on Friday.
I question that, but I spoke to you about this, and you were gonna come up with a solution, because whoever's doing this right now is doing a horrible job. And if they won't pick up in season on a Sunday, then we got an issue. Or at least once over the weekend. What's the name of the group we're paying to do this?
Keiko Landscaping.
Keiko, and they're making $330 a week?
I believe that's what it was, yes. And they are picking up an additional time on the weekends during the season. We're out of the season.
Yeah,
Um,
but like Memorial Day weekend was insane. That there's no trash pickup through at least Tuesday, 5 PM. And all three cans, the doggy can was full of trash, the trash can was full of trash, and the cars can.
And
full of trash.
I'll work with them to come up with something after 3-day weekends. But right now our pickups are on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And when you've got a 3-day weekend with Monday off, their next scheduled pickup isn't until Wednesday from Friday. So I will work with them to come up with a
Okay.
solution.
Because if it's not satisfactory to the residents, because I had a lot of people complain to me about it, I'm sure we could find somebody else, like somebody at Briny Breezes who's certified, insured, all that stuff. I'm sure would take care of this for us and has a golf cart. Okay,
But where are they going to take the trash to?
to the dumpster. Where's this guy take the trash to?
He takes it to the landfill.
Well, why does he do that? Why can't he just take it to the town dumpster? Where would Billy take trash?
Billy would take it to the dumpster,
Right.
but
So why are we telling somebody else they can't take it to the dumpster and drive
because
it
the
up our
dumpster
truck?
fills up.
Let's just try, if it didn't used to fill up when Billy was doing it, why is it filling up when he's not doing it?
We had more pickups when town staff was doing it.
You need more
we
dumpster
need
pickups?
More dumpster
And we
pickups.
get more dumpster pickups.
Yeah. If that's the reason we have to hire this company, because they take it all the way to the dump when we have a
No,
dumpster that's
That's
supposed
not
to
the
be getting.
reason we do it. We do it because it's less costly in terms of our overall cost.
I find
Because
it
our
hard to
Public
believe the
Works
trash
Department
on
only
on Old
has,
Ocean would cause that to be overflow. Find that hard to believe. Okay, David, you mentioned the trash, and what was the other thing you
Just,
added? The boat,
oh yeah, the boat on the beach, which is also trash.
yeah.
And it's broken up and pieces of it end up being put by the trash cans for pickup.
It's actually moving.
Is it moving out to sea?
No, it's moving down towards you.
Last time-
Did we find an owner for that boat?
No, I'll follow up on it.
All right.
Someone's got to
Thank
pay
you.
to tow it. That's state property.
Yeah, well, last time the town
I
did it,
know.
we had to pay because the owner just said no.
That's what's going to happen.
There's no registration on it anywhere.
No, the Coast Guard had been tracking that boat before the beach.
You say they had been?
Yeah, well, they found it abandoned offshore and they weren't coming to shore, it was somebody else's boat.
So you've spoken on property, we kind of jumped to commissioner comments. You're all set with your property
I'm just happy,
maintenance?
everything.
Okay, good. Now we have Carol.
Okay. One thing I forgot to ask, it came to my attention today that there have been discussions about an event liaison in the community for community events, that you had a meeting with Stella.
I had a meeting with her and she proposed it. It really
Okay.
hasn't gone much farther than that at this
Okay,
point.
so, because she's very interested, I know, in bringing back the Veterans Day celebration. And we had talked about, we approved $16,000, which was a big increase for community events in last year's budget. And we haven't really had any other than Light the Lights. So I would like to propose that we appoint Stella Kolb as the event coordinator with town staff.
And it would be a voluntary position?
Yeah.
Unpaid?
Yep.
I would like additional time. I was planning on bringing something to the commission as part of the budget for a discussion. I would like additional time to put some things together, some parameters. And I
Okay,
discussed with Stella.
okay.
Maybe Stella could work with you on putting the budget together.
Well, we'll leave that to
Okay.
Lynn and next meeting or the July meeting, either budget meeting or town meeting.
I think she'd be fantastic in that role.
But we could also do
Yeah.
it as a one-year trial run.
Okay, and then the other thing that I just wanted to bring up, and it just kind of sparked my attention last week with Lynn being out at a conference, is we don't have any schedule of town conferences. We know kind of what our League of Cities commitments are for conferences and the meetings that we have to attend for our various policy committees. But there are a lot of conferences and we don't really talk about them as a commission. I believe per Lynn's contract, we really should be talking about them. We should have a schedule and we should know what our budget is because we've already exceeded the budget for the year as of end of April for travel and per diem.
So with conferences, it seems like some conferences would be for the development of the professional. So like Lynn would do things to advance her professionally. And then other conferences would be because they're going to bring back knowledge that'll help the town.
Right, and the
Those are
only
two
two,
different kinds of
the only two that are mentioned in the contract are the FCCMA and the ICMA, which
Why
is
don't you
in
tell
every,
people
in
what
every
those
other
stand
year.
for?
I don't know.
FCCMA stands for Florida City County Managers Association.
So town managers.
ICMA stands for International City County Manager. They're both for professional development and town development. I've also attended the Florida League of Cities Insurance Summit, talking about property insurance and health benefit insurance, preparing for the budget year. And then I attended the policy committees. Those are, and I did go to the winter conference. That is an unusual one, but it was on AI, looking at, again, innovative ways to help the town. The Winter Summit is not something I would normally go to, same with the Insurance Summit, but after last year's significant increase statewide in property and liability, and our insurance rep telling us to expect a 15 to 20% on health insurance, I was hoping to find ways that other communities are saving money on both of those with the Insurance Summit.
So are you asking for some kind of accountability? In other words,
Yeah, I
Lynn
just
has
think
X
that
amount of dollars
it
to
just
spend
sounds
when
to
she
me
goes
that it
over
would,
that.
it seems that it would be prudent to kind of have a schedule and the commission have some feedback to be able
Yeah,
to
that was
say,
actually really helpful, what Linda
Yeah.
said, so just kind of
And,
putting that in the
like, I
budget.
don't know what
This
last
is why
week
we're doing
was.
these things.
Yeah.
And if something else comes up, you'll just do a consensus with the commission.
And they are under the travel, it's broken out to the,
Okay. But I think what Callan's point is.
I just see a
we've gone
number and
over
it-
budget.
We're over budget, so we need to look at the budget and it would be good to have a schedule and for us to get some more information,
So
provide feedback.
we got to remember this and you'll remember this. So during the budget
Yes.
process, the
Yep.
conferences that we say, okay, Lynn's going to these conferences, and if something else comes up during the year, she needs to come back to the commission. That sound like a plan?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, anybody else got anything else?
I have a question. Form 6,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's eating my lunch, and I think, came up with some solution or found something, and then Christie has something, and I can be available to get some help on this. And I think all of us would probably like some,
mhm.
because it's just all consuming and seems like they want information on everything.
I've been working on mine for a while and I'm almost done with it, but man,
I
it's
thought
a lot of work.
they nixed it for this year.
No, no.
no,
I just got a note in the mail.
reminding
the
you to
mail?
complete it.
Yeah, they want you to complete it.
You can't complete it
gotta be done
on
by
paper.
10:30.
You
It has
have
to
to
be
do it
online.
Yeah, by
electronically.
July
It's
1.
electronic. Yeah.
So Christie, are you able to do anything to help us set something up?
Lynn and I talked about this afternoon. There's a conference coming up or.
The Palm Beach County League of Cities is
It's not till the
doing-
end of June, though.
That is
It's 3
June
days before it's
26th.
due. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's that. There's a woman in our firm, Tanya Early, who has done presentations. She did one recently at City of Green Acres to help folks, particularly the council in that case, filling out their Form 6. So I offered that up to Lynn. We could also have her come make a presentation, answer questions. Or alternatively, at any time if you wanted to, you could contact Tanya in my office, or I can introduce you via email and you can reach out to Tanya as questions come up to see if she can.
Didn't you send us a YouTube video last year or some?
There's a couple presentations out there. There was one that our firm did. There's another one that Keith Davis's firm did.
So maybe if you
so I can
resent
resend
those.
and I can send Tanya's information if you want to connect with Tanya as well, because she's done a lot of research on the Form 6, along with presentations, and she's much more of an expert than I am.
Well, I would like some assistance because it just seems like
remember-
everything in my house, pretty much.
It's very difficult for Kelly and I to give guidance, advice, assistance on Form 6. We're only required to complete Form 1. We don't have access to Form 6. So I couldn't even tell you what all they asked for in.
The video
Form 6.
that Christie sent in, I think will help you dramatically. It's an existing video.
Can you get that to all of us? And then,
I might
please.
also
And then Trey
still like to
Nazaro had done a PowerPoint.
That's with Davis and Associates. that she was
Okay,
talking about.
okay.
The thing is, your firm did a really good webinar that I live, sat through. The problem is when you get down to doing it yourself, you come up with a bunch of things that weren't covered, because they're unique. And, it would be helpful if we had somebody that we could just call them and say, hey, how do I value a deferred pension, or something like that. Because I'm just kind of doing this and I don't want to end up in jail because I did it the wrong way.
If it's an honest mistake, you're not in trouble, right?
All right, we're going downhill. Anybody got anything else? All right, meeting adjourned.